The largest wealth transfer in human history is happening right now, not next year, not 10 years from now, right at this very moment. We are talking about $124 trillion, a staggering amount of wealth that is shifting from one generation to the next by 2048. And the real truth is, nobody is telling you about it. If you don't understand exactly what is happening and what to do about it, most of this wealth will pass you by. Have you ever wondered why some families get wealthier with every generation while your family stays stuck in the same place? By the end of this article, you will have the answer to that question. Not just the answer, but the path to staying on the right side of the line. Background: the numbers that will make you pause in 2025. The total wealth of Americans stands at $163.1 trillion. Of this, baby boomers alone control $83.3 trillion. That means more than half of the country's total wealth is in the hands of a single generation. On the other hand, millennials and Gen Z combined hold only 12%. These two generations make up about half of the country's population, yet their share of wealth is negligible. The question isn't whether this is fair. The question is, what comes next? Because what is coming will either build you up financially or break you. The truth that no one says out loud: everyone is excited about the great wealth transfer. They say, all the boomers' money will go to the younger generation. Don't worry, everything will be fine. But the truth is much harsher. Yes, an estimated $72 trillion will go directly to heirs by 2048. This figure is true. But the part no one is talking about is that nearly 80% of that inheritance is going to families who are already in the top 20% of earners. Read that again. Those who are already affluent are receiving the lion's share. The top 10% of earners are receiving 77% of total inheritances. So, this great transfer is primarily a story of wealth, moving from wealthy boomers to wealthy millennials. If your family doesn't already have wealth, the statistics are against you. And the situation is more complex. 32% of millennials and 38% of Gen Z expect to receive an inheritance, but only 22% of boomers and Gen X actually plan to leave an inheritance. The gap between what the young expect and what will realistically happen is massive. If you are banking on an inheritance, half of you will be disappointed. So, what is the real message? Those who create generational wealth do not wait. They build. What is generational wealth? Most people think generational wealth just means leaving some money for their children. It's not that simple. Generational wealth is any asset, real estate, investments, businesses, retirement savings, that you create and transfer in such a way that the next generation doesn't start from scratch, but starts slightly ahead. This isn't a story about getting rich today. It's about ensuring that your child doesn't have to start from the absolute beginning like you did. Those who have wealth today didn't get it overnight. They built it on 3 specific pillars. Pillar 1, real estate, the oldest wealth engine of our time for decades. The biggest driver of generational wealth has been real estate. Baby boomers bought homes in the 1970s and 80s, when prices were affordable. They held on to those homes, and over the decades, they turned into massive assets. Gen X and millennials are set to inherit an estimated $4.6 trillion worth of real estate over the next decade, more than half of which is in the United States. But what about those who won't receive it? If your wealthy parents aren't in a position to provide a home, you have to buy it yourself, even if it's small, even if it's in a less demanded area. The strategy is simple. Move out from there, rent the property, and buy the next one. This is how many common investors have built portfolios by adding one house at a time. You aren't trying to be a real estate mogul overnight. You are just laying one brick on the wall. Once you have property in your name, time will start working for you. Pillar 2, the stock market. The most misunderstood tool. Whenever people hear stock market, they think, this is for the wealthy, for experts, not for ordinary people like me. Let me give you a simple fact. Since 1926, the S&P 500 has returned an average of about 10% per year. This is data from nearly a century. And it didn't take any complex strategy to get this result. You didn't have to pick stocks. You didn't have to watch market news every day. You didn't have to be a financial expert. For ordinary investors, low-cost index funds are the smartest and easiest way to build wealth gradually. You can start today. Some brokers have no minimum investment requirements, and fees are as low as 0.02% or less. This means almost all of your money grows. Even Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time, has instructed his trustee to keep 90% of his wealth in an S&P 500 index fund after his death. If this is the plan for a billionaire, it is good enough for us too. The key is time. If you start at age 25 and put just $300 a month into a low-cost index fund growing at an average of 10% per year, you will have more than $1.8 million by the age of 65. That money will then go to your children. They will grow it further. This is how generational wealth is born. And yet, at the beginning of 2025, boomers controlled nearly 54% of the stock market, worth more than $25 trillion. Millennials owned only 8%, meaning just $3.9 trillion. If you haven't started investing yet, you are already behind. Pillar 3, estate planning. The most important subject no one discusses, more important than real estate and the stock market, is the subject no one talks about. Wealth inheritance planning, or estate planning. You worked hard your whole life to build real estate, stocks, and savings. But without a plan for how to transfer it, it can all disappear in a single generation. Research shows that 95% of failures in wealth transfer are due to lack of communication, unprepared heirs, and mismatched family visions. Bad investments don't destroy family wealth. Neither do high taxes. What destroys it is when family members don't talk to each other. A child who doesn't know what they are getting and what to do with it cannot hold on to that wealth. Generational wealth only survives when the transfer plan is made in advance. Without a simple will or trust, wealth built over decades can go to probate court instead of your family. There has been a major shift regarding taxes as well. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act has made federal estate and gift tax exemptions permanent starting in 2026, $15 million per person and $30 million for couples. If your estate is below this limit, your heirs will pay zero estate tax. But to get this benefit, you must have the legal paperwork in hand. The real picture behind the numbers: millennials' net worth has quadrupled in just 5 years. Between 2019 and 2024, their total wealth reached nearly $6 trillion from $3.9 trillion. Sounds great, right? But at the same time, boomers' wealth has crossed from $60 trillion to $83 trillion. The gap hasn't narrowed, it has grown even larger. NYU economics professor Edward Wolf has called this situation a seismic shift. He titled his study, "The Vanishing Wealth of Young American Families." Keep this in mind. And add to this, millennials carry about 41% of total debt, while boomers hold only 22%. The cost of education is 9 times higher than it was in 1989. The younger generation is fighting 2 wars at once, lagging in wealth creation and being crushed by the weight of debt. This is the trap. The way out: no magic, only consistency. The way out of this trap doesn't lie in one big decision. It's a series of small, monotonous, consistent decisions. First, start investing, even if it's just $50 a month, in a low-cost index fund. Second, build a path to buy your first property. Even if it's small, that's fine, as soon as possible. Third, maximize the use of tax-advantaged accounts available to you. 401(a), Roth IRA, HSA. These are the most effective ways to increase your post-tax returns. Fourth, talk to your family about money, no matter how uncomfortable it is. Research says 69% of people have already started talking to their parents about inheritance. Families that have these conversations are the ones that don't lose out during wealth transfer. Opportunities are fading. Slowly but surely, the opportunity isn't ending tomorrow. But it is shrinking. The stocks and real estate that were cheap when boomers were building wealth are now much more expensive. The cost of entry has risen. Time takes the same amount to compound, but the time you have left is decreasing every year. Financial experts say the great wealth transfer is indeed coming. But the younger generation should not start their financial journey waiting for someone to die. Have a plan. Stick to that plan consistently. That is the key. Conclusion: the difference is in decisions, not luck. The largest wealth transfer in human history has already begun. Baby boomers control nearly half of the wealth in the US, and $124 trillion will change hands by 2048. But the data is clear. Most of that money will go to families that are already wealthy. If you don't have wealthy parents, the chances of inheriting financial freedom are low. But it is possible to create it. The 3 pillars that built the boomers' wealth: real estate, stock market investment, and smart estate planning, are still open to you. Yes, entering is harder now than it used to be. But 100 years of data says they work. The difference between a family that struggles financially every generation and one that grows stronger every generation is not luck. It is almost always a decision made by someone in the previous generation, a decision to start something that lasts. You don't need a trust fund to start. You don't need a 6-figure salary. You need an emergency safety net, a retirement account, consistent investment, and a plan to transfer it. This is the whole game. It's not complex, it's just uncomfortable. And most people never start because it feels too difficult. Don't be like the majority.